What's missing?
You know what, the step stool back there?
That's the only podium we have.
Right after they have been cleaned up or anything.
Didn't think of that. We'll have to have somebody cut that sucker down. Yeah, do that again.
You're not gonna see it. Looks great. You can't see that, can you?
I don't want to see you laughing, man. Can you see? This is.
So what's going on right now?
Do they need to be
You guys
closer?
turned the wrong way.
Oh,
Do we need the mics closer? Or
No.
hey, everybody's not like Rodney Jones.
I know.
Now I am.
You look like Rodney Jones right now.
You're not trying to lean over it.
I'm not gonna lean over it. You know,
this is what we call political theater.
this is this. Who built this?
I had it. It was here when I came here.
Okay, all right, we gotta get this out of here. But thank you guys for being here. Another great day in the city of Flint where God has brought us together. But definitely, we want to talk about the importance of water, and we all know that in this region. This administration believes that water is a human right. It is a human right. You know, for we talk about quality of water, quality of delivery, and quality of cost. We want to make sure residents inside the city of Flint experience a better experience with water as it relates to this administration providing a level of service. One of the most important things that we had to do here once we got into this office was to build a secondary delivery system, which was required by our environmental protection agencies, EGLE, and also the EPA. The primary source of water for this region is GLWA. The Great Lakes District, Great Lakes Water Authority was the primary source of water for this region. We then went into the building and construction and completion of our secondary delivery system from our secondary system that we're going to provide water that we're currently on now. One of the things that happened on August 13th was one of the things that we dread and one of the things that we prepared for, building a secondary delivery system. There was a catastrophic failure in our main supplier from Detroit water system. 23 communities could have been impacted negatively. 22 were. Flint was ready because we went to our secondary delivery system, providing water with no interruption. And I want to make sure I thank the men and women and also the leadership in our water division, making sure that service was not interrupted for our residents inside the city of Flint, thus speaking to water being a human right. With that, we went into modifications of making sure that secondary delivery system could provide a quality level of water for residents in this community, and it has. Now, upcoming, we're going to be switching back to our primary delivery system. But before we do that, and before we're looking at that, testing has been engaged by our staff, making sure that we can switch back to the primary delivery source of water for the city of Flint without any problems for residents. Now, any residents with any concerns, we want to make sure we alleviate any particular concerns. They can call City Hall. We can answer the questions, and also we can still provide free testing of their water to make sure they're comfortable with their water sources coming into their homes. But definitely, as we speak to these major infrastructure upgrades, we want to thank our federal and state partners providing the resources for that secondary delivery system, dollars that provided us to construct that state-of-the-art system. Here in the city of Flint, we have great management with our water division. That leadership is Michael Brown, who's led us, and he can talk more about the technical portions of what is going on and what is going to happen through the switch back to our primary delivery system. But remember, this was mandated by the federal government, state government, primary delivery system, secondary delivery system, both coming from Lake Huron, making sure that residents would not have to experience a loss of water in any condition or any situation. August 13th, if that secondary delivery system had not been started and completed by this administration, we would have had a disaster inside the city of Flint. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Brown to give you the details of how we're going to switch back to the primary system and what's going to be entailed with that.
Good day. I'm Mike Brown. I'm the DPW Director for the City of Flint. As the Mayor said, we couldn't have done that work that we've done both on the water pipeline and other projects I'm going to talk about real quickly without EPA's wind funding and without the state putting a large amount of money also into funding to make sure that the City of Flint's water supply and water distribution system is all in the best place it can be in many, many years now. In addition to the secondary pipeline, we added to the secondary pipeline Control Station 2. That was to improve the flow and better control the flow from the GLWA. And again, thank goodness we did, because we could quickly shut the flow from GLWA off and go to our reservoir at Cedar Street, use the water out of that while we talked with GCDC and raised the volumes of water coming from them and went to 100% on GCDC. No one in the city saw any kind of change in their water quality because we make sure the same water quality, no matter which side of which pipe we're pulling it out of, coming from Lake Huron, has the right amount of chemicals, the right amount of balance, so there's no change in our system. With the monies that were given to us, we've also done the new chemical feed building, which is instrumental because of reading the amount of chemicals that we're getting, knowing what was there, what has to be added, and doing that near automatically. We still have testing that we do here at the plant, and I'll let Scott talk about testing and such when he gets a chance at the podium. The other large thing that it was done in this time frame before I got here was the Dort Reservoir to get it ready to start running again, getting it cleaned up and getting it to be ready to go for the next 50 to 60 years. In addition to that, we have started in the last few months here, last 10 months or so, the pump station for that, and we're hoping by the end of this year it will be in place and Dort will be up and running and tested so that when we decide to take Cedar out to do renovation on it, we'll have, again, still a perfect supply for the city of Flint in case of emergencies. Best thing of all is that the quality of water coming into the city of Flint and going into our distribution system meets the strict standards in adherence with the State of Michigan Safe Water Drinking Act and with the EPA's blessing for what we're putting out into our system and going to homes. We were alerted about the disruption in the GLWA line, GLWA, and our new secondary line from Genesee County Drain Commissioner went into effect, and we're proud to say that it was a great success. It comes from all the work of the men and women here at the water plant, the Water Service Center, going and doing the testing we had to do, taking it in to begin with, running it at 5% which is our normal GCDC, 500,000 gallons, approximately 5%, and the rest will come from GLWA, 95%. And then the testing we did took it the GCDC all the way up to 100%, and then brought it back down to know how our system's going to react and what we have to look for in making sure that the water quality meets our standards going into the city distribution system. Scott Dungy and the water plant went into action back on that Saturday in August, and seamlessly the city of Flint, anyone out in the city of Flint didn't see a pressure change. They didn't see a drop in quality of water. Most of us wouldn't have known unless till we heard that, oh, there was a boil water authority that Detroit's that talked about, or you heard it in the news that we did have, that it did blow apart. And these were the communities, and Flint was in the communities that had to be taken care of. But as the mayor said, because of our preparations and having that line done, we were able to get everything working perfectly. We avoided a huge catastrophe in the city of Flint. Now that all the repairs have been made on the GLWA line, we'll be switching back over to 95% approximately of GLWA water and transitioning from the GCDC currently at 100 down to 500,000 gallons from them a day, and that's to keep that pipe fresh. Just as like we switched from our primary water source to the secondary water source when the GLWA line broke, when we switch back, there will be no change in our delivery. It should be seamless and not have a problem. For all the testing that we've done previously, I'm confident of that. There should be no change in water pressure, water quality, or color in anywhere inside the city, because we'll be putting that same amount of the same balance always into our distribution piping. if you notice a change, if something happens and you notice a change in color, you notice a change in odor or discoloration, please call our water emergency line. That line during the weekdays, of course, should be answered. You may, if it's busy, there's too many people calling in, it will go to voicemail. On the weekends, it will go to voicemail, but one of my staff members will give a call back when they get the message and talk to you to find out what's going on so that we can attend to whatever the emergency is. That water emergency, as always, is area code 810-766-7202. If for chance you have sewage backup or have a sewer problem, we have a number for that too. Again, it's answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you get them asking for a message, leave a message. They will get back to you. One of my people will get back to you. And that number is 766, area code 810, sorry, 766-7079. If you just have a question about water or wastewater, the city always has our website, and you can email, if you have the ability, to water@cityofflint.com, any question, and DPW staff will get that answered. Now, I'd like Scott to come up, Scott Dungy, our water plant supervisor, to talk about the process that is going to be followed to change over, so everybody knows about what's going on tomorrow.
Good morning. My name is Scott Dungy, the City of Flint Water Plant Supervisor, and today I will briefly explain when and how the City of Flint will transition back to the Great Lakes Water Authority water supply as our primary water source. Throughout this process, we have been in constant contact with the Environmental Protection Agency and the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy to ensure the Flint's water continues to meet state and federal water quality standards. For the last 7 weeks, the City of Flint has relied on its secondary water supply, the Genesee County Drain Commission, to provide water to Flint residents. Friday, September 30th, GLWA notified us that their pipeline was repaired and ready to be returned to service. Monday, October 3rd, the City of Flint water plant started to flush approximately 24 miles of 72-inch pipeline. It took 5 days at a rate of 7 million gallons per day, flushing the water into the 20 million gallon Dort Reservoir that is currently out of service. After 5 days of flushing, stale water from the pipeline, the chlorine-free residual hit 1.2 parts per million, showing the water quality was ready to be tested. We were then able to perform the rest of the water chemistry testing, including BACT testing, which came back negative for total coliform and E. coli. All test results were within regulatory limits. Eagle confirmed that the water is now safe to drink, and we are ready to transition back to the GLWA line. With that confirmation, we reduced the flow to 1.8 million gallon per day into the Dort Reservoir. We are now giving the public notice that we will start to transition back to the primary water source, GLWA, Thursday, October 13th at 8 a.m. This process will be completed by 2 p.m. the same day. The first step in the transition will be to divert the 1.8 million gallon a day that is flowing into the Dort Reservoir slowly back to the city's distribution system. Then the city staff will be in communications with GCDC and GLWA so we can coordinate the slow transition of ramping down the flow from GCDC at the same time we are increasing the flow from GLWA until 95% of the flow is coming from GLWA and 5% is coming from GCDC. This is a slow process due to the sheer volume of water that is flowing through both pipelines. A coordinated effort by all three parties will ensure a safe, slow transition back to the GLWA as our primary water source and GCDC as our backup supplier. Thank you.
As I stated, water is a human right. When we talk about quality, we talk about cost, we talk about delivery systems, we have to understand that this administration is working very hard to be able to repair the infrastructure, to repair the confidence in the water quality and the infrastructure. As we still are going through replacing lead service lines at a rate, we're more than 95% completed with that. this major construction that we have this took place for the secondary delivery system, as well as switching back to our primary delivery system. We're continuing to reduce costs as every resident has resident in the city of Flint has experienced a reduction in their water costs. By $300 water credit has been already applied to them. We're trying to do these things on every level to restore the crisis in confidence as it relates to water in this region. We're working to be the premier place in Michigan as it relates to infrastructure, cost reduction, and quality of water. These are the steps that we're taking, and we're open and transparent about what we're doing, and that's what this press conference is about today. Talking about the new buildings that we were here, the chemical feed stations, the testing that we're undergoing to alleviate any fears that may be still lingering in our community. So this is another great step for the city of Flint, and once again, I want to thank Mike Brown, his team, for doing a fantastic job, and we're going to continue to produce good quality information for residents inside the city of Flint. And now I'll open it up for questions for myself or these scientists.
I have a question about the water pipelines. How many lines, you said it was less than 1,000 to go to be replaced in the city? And are you gonna work through, when is construction season up for the water replacement pipeline? And when will you start back up? And what's the projected completion date?
Right. When I say we're more than 95% completed, we're really more than 95% completed, you know, adopting the legacy of all the other pieces and the inherent problems that we had. And we're still facing some supply chain issues, as well as the pandemic that shut the world down. We're going to be working up until the last moment that we can work, and then we'll start right back up at the first moment that we can start back up. But it's definitely in our near future to be able to complete this project with a thorough review of what we're doing. And every dollar that's come here from the state and the high-minded legislation from Washington, D.C. has gone into this project. And then also we're working through that to find any other failures that was left to us as a legacy. But definitely I'm confident to say that we're completing this task. But moreover, the secondary delivery system in which we're on currently now, it was scheduled by our Arcadis consultant reports, it was supposed to be completed in 2019 before this administration took office. It had not even begun. And so it was one of the prior priorities. When we look at lead service line replacement for residential homes, that's important. But definitely having a secondary system up and operational is more important, and we see why now. We see why that's important now, because when this catastrophic failure with our primary delivery system happened, we were ready to go and switch with no interruption to residents inside the city of Flint. And we don't want to underscore that, the importance of the secondary delivery system, because for the last couple months, we have been on this system. If we had not been on this system, it would have been a catastrophic problem here in the city of Flint. Now, you know, because we completed that project, started it and completed it, we are in a better place. Now we're moving forth. They're out there repairing lines today. It's a little rainy today, but they're working very hard, and every day we get closer to the target of finishing and completing this project. And so we'll work up until the end of the season, but hopefully we're closing out on that date, and we're working now to try to recontact those individuals that have not responded to our first 3 attempts to communicate with them. By the settlement agreement, after 3 attempts at contacting them by mail, phone, or by a knock on their door, we're no longer responsible for them. And if we put those into the data pile, we'll be probably about 98% completed. But we're not doing that. We're making attempts to make sure all of the lead is out.
And when will you give up on that effort, Mayor? I mean, and just, you know, and call the project done?
Well, once we hit that mark of what we have in front of us, the 28,500 lines is what has been identified. And so we know some of those areas, they do not have a lead service line. Originally, the number was about 18,000, and then we took it up another 10,000. And we'll call it quits when when we get all of it out, right? And so we'll call the project complete at a certain deadline when we hit the 28,500. But definitely if the resident has a concern, we'll go out and test, and we'll go out and look. We'll continue to have an operation long-term for those who may have not responded, or we will continue to service them. As long as I'm in this place here, we understand that water is a human right, and we're going to work it through, and we're going to continue to service people wherever they may be on the scale. Some people are still afraid to use their tap water, even with a filter. We're going to continue to provide filters. We're going to continue to test. We're going to continue to help support our delivery system of water with our secondary support system through the help centers. We just recently funded 3 help centers with the ARPA dollars to continue the level of service that they've been supplying residents with. And so those are the important measurements that we have to really take a look at. And wherever residents may be in their mind, from high to low, we're going to continue to support them on every level.
Mike, you mentioned 50 to 60-year timeline. Is that basically the longevity of the infrastructure at this point, or is there, obviously there's things you're continuing to do along the way, but is that kind of the breaking point where you're going to say, hey, we're going to have to look at replacing some things at this point? I mean, kind of like you do with your own home equipment, or television and things like that.
You want to come up here, Mike?
I guess.
Probably better do it this way instead of off to the side. No, it's okay. Yes, I said 50 to 60 years before we're going to have to go through this process again to revamp, to drain out the retention basins and review everything that needs to be done, have all the concrete that's weakened, any problems that we see in there replaced, bring in better paints and things so we have better control of water surfaces, et cetera, inside those tanks. Those tanks have been in the ground over 60 years. We have pipe, honestly, still in the city that are over 100 years old, and I think there's still one spot where we have a 3-inch wooden pipe in the ground because it still works, okay? But our goal is right now with the state, the city, EPA, we're trying to take care of all of our transmission mains, and then when you get the bigger transmissions mains down, then you're working down to the smaller mains. And we're already, throughout the city, we're doing all of the lead line and checking to make sure that people have newer lines, copper lines in the city. So those will last many, many years. And copper is very inert. It's the best product we have out there to run right now. And from that, we know how long that'll last, many, many years. But again, the city inherited, because we went many, many years with boom here, way back when in the early 70s, where everything was easy, all this pipe was relatively new, under 30 to 50 years. Now we're having to take care of what's been in our system for a long period of time. And until we do, I mean, it's a process. We're going to keep working at it, get as much done as we can each year, and move along. The same with our sewer. We're talking about water lines, but sewer is the same. And the city people probably don't know this, but we're over 50% of the city has been relined the sewers, so revamped by doing a lining system instead of tearing up, because that's the cheapest for us to do that. And over 50% of the city has been done in the last 10 to 15 years. So, and we work a little on that each time. We try to get areas, the worst areas first, where we have infiltration, where we have excess of flow if we know of an area. We'll try to get that relined first, because that saves the amount of work we have to do to the wastewater treatment plant of all the water that goes through our sewer system, because that's where it ends up and has to be processed to make the clean water that we put into the Flint River. Hopefully that it gives you that and a little more.
Oh, well, it was great. It was great. One more question that I had in regards to the switchover that's happening very, very soon. I just want to be clear that residents won't have to do anything differently to their homes.
Nope.
It's not like you're going to have like pockets of air that are going to be interdispersed throughout, where they're going to have to open their line kind of when the power outage happens.
No, there should be, I'm saying there should. I mean, there's still a 0.001% chance of something going wrong, a valve closing when it shouldn't. But just like back in August when we had to switch over, nobody in the city of Flint would have known if the radio stations in that, because there was no change in water quality. We've done the testing over this last year before that happened, bringing the volume up from GCDC, taking the volume, the percentages down from GLWA, and made sure we knew how our system will react, how everything's going. Our Cedar Street Reservoir is topped off around 18 feet, I'm guessing right now, and we can run a day and a half on that, or to 2 days very easily if we can't get any water in, or if there is a major problem. And again, no one will see any difference because that pump station will start pumping, bringing the water and pushing it back out into the system. So we have it covered a couple different ways, and I shouldn't say we, the men and women here at the water treatment plant have protocols. We have the things that how we're going to do in the act of an emergency written out. Everyone understands it. They've gone through it. We've done drills, and we did the testing previously, so we know how things are going to react. So I'm very confident. Again, no one's going to see anything in our community when this switch occurs. It'll just happen, just like the last one. Anybody else? Thank you, one and all. Mr. Mayor?
Please cut the video where I had to step up and step down. Please do that.
Yeah, can we do like a cut shot?
Yeah, that's right. Well, he runs the building.